Rain tapped softly against the cracked windows of a small neighborhood auto shop as the evening settled in. The sign outside flickered, half the letters burned out, but inside the shop the lights were still on. Mark worked alone, sleeves rolled up, grease on his hands, and the quiet determination of a man who had learned to carry life's weight without complaint. 3 years earlier, Mark's world had shattered. His wife, Anna, had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with their 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Since that day, every sunrise had been a battle between grief and responsibility. Lily needed him, and that simple truth kept him moving forward. Running the small auto repair shop had never made Mark rich, but it kept food on the table and a roof over their heads. Most days he worked from sunrise until late evening, fixing engines, changing brakes, and solving mechanical problems that other shops had turned away. He wasn't the fastest mechanic in town, and he didn't have the newest equipment, but people trusted him. They said Mark fixed cars the way people used to. Honestly? That evening he was just about to close when the bell above the shop door rang. Mark wiped his hands on a rag and stepped out from under the hood of an old pickup truck. Standing in the doorway was a woman in her early 30s, rain dripping from her jacket. Beside her stood a small boy clutching a worn backpack. Sorry, the woman said quietly. Are you still open? Mark glanced at the clock. It was almost 7:30 p.m., long past closing time. For a moment he considered saying no. Lily was at home with the neighbor, waiting for him to bring dinner. But then he noticed the worry in the woman's eyes. What seems to be the problem? He asked. She gestured toward a small sedan parked crookedly outside the shop. The car just stopped while I was driving. I tried starting it again, but nothing happened. Mark stepped outside into the rain and lifted the hood. After a few minutes of checking wires and listening to the engine, he realized the issue. The alternator had failed. He returned to the woman, who stood quietly beside her son. It's the alternator, Mark explained. It'll need to be replaced. Her face immediately fell. How much would that cost? She asked. Mark hesitated. The truth was around $400 including labor. For some customers that wasn't much, but he had seen enough people struggle to recognize when money was tight. About $400, he said gently. The woman looked down at the floor, her shoulders sagging. I don't have that, she admitted. I just started a new job. I was supposed to start tomorrow, actually. Without the car, I can't get there. The little boy looked up at his mother, then at Mark. For a moment, the shop was silent except for the rain hitting the roof. Mark had heard stories like this before. Sometimes they were true, sometimes they weren't. Running a small shop meant he couldn't afford to fix every car for free. But then he thought of Lily. He imagined her standing beside him one day, watching the kind of man her father chose to be. Mark sighed softly. Don't worry about it, he said. I'll fix it. The woman blinked in surprise. But I told you. I can't pay right now. Mark shrugged. Then don't. Just focus on getting to work tomorrow. Tears filled her eyes. Are you serious? Yeah, he said, already walking back toward the car. Give me about an hour. The repair wasn't simple, but Mark worked quickly. He removed the damaged alternator, installed a replacement from the spare parts shelf, and tested the battery. The engine roared back to life. When he finally closed the hood, the rain had stopped. The woman stood near the shop door watching him, clearly unsure what to say. How much do I owe you? She asked again. Mark shook his head. Nothing. Consider it a good luck gift for your new job? She covered her mouth. Overwhelmed. I don't even know how to thank you. Before Mark could respond, the small boy stepped forward. He had been quiet the entire time, observing everything. Now he looked directly at Mark with wide, serious eyes. Mister, the boy said softly, are you rich? Mark chuckled. Not even close. The boy thought for a moment, then said something that made Mark freeze. My dad used to fix things for people for free too. he said. Mark's smile faded slightly. Oh yeah? The boy nodded. Yeah, he said, if you help people when they're stuck, the world doesn't feel so scary. The shop suddenly felt very quiet. Mark knelt down so he was eye level with the boy. Asterisk, what happened to your dad? He asked gently. The boy looked down at the floor. He died last year. The words hit Mark like a punch to the chest. For a second he couldn't breathe. Asterisk, he thought of Anna, of the hospital room, of holding Lily while she cried. Asterisk, the woman quickly stepped forward, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. Asterisk, Ethan, she said softly, but Ethan continued looking at Mark. My mom says we're going to be okay, the boy added. But sometimes she cries when she thinks I'm asleep. Mark felt something tighten in his chest. The boy then said the sentence that stopped him cold. Asterisk. You fixing our car today, Ethan said quietly. Is the first good thing that happened to us in a long time? Mark didn't know what to say. In his shop he had repaired thousands of vehicles. But in that moment he realized something deeper. Asterisk. Sometimes fixing a machine meant fixing a small piece of someone's life. He stood up slowly and looked at the woman. You're going to do great at that new job, he told her. Asterisk. She nodded, wiping tears from her eyes. Asterisk. I promise I'll come back and pay you. Mark shook his head again. Just promise me one thing. Asterisk. What? Asterisk. Someday when someone else needs help, do the same thing. She smiled. I will. Asterisk. Before leaving, Ethan ran back toward Mark. Asterisk. The boy hugged him quickly around the waist. Thank you, he said. Then he ran back to the car. Asterisk. Mark stood there watching as the sedan pulled out of the parking lot and disappeared down the dark street. For a long time he didn't move. Finally he turned off the shop lights and locked the door. Asterisk. When he arrived home, Lily ran to the door. Asterisk. Daddy, she shouted. He lifted her into his arms. How was your day? She asked. Mark smiled. It was interesting. They sat together at the kitchen table eating simple takeout food. Halfway through dinner Lily looked at him curiously. Asterisk. Daddy, why do you always help people even when they can't pay? Mark thought about Ethan's words. Then he answered honestly. Asterisk. Because sometimes people aren't just stuck with their car, he said. They're stuck in life. Lily nodded thoughtfully. A few weeks later, Mark nearly forgot about the whole thing. Asterisk. Until one morning a black SUV pulled into his shop parking lot. A man in a suit stepped out. Are you Mark? He asked. Yeah, Mark replied cautiously. The man smiled. Asterisk. I work for the company where Sarah Miller just started. Mark immediately remembered the woman. She told our entire office what you did, the man continued. Turns out our CAO heard the story. Mark blinked. Okay. The man handed him a small envelope. Our company runs a community program, he explained. Every year we support local businesses that show kindness in the community. Asterisk. Mark opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a check. $10,000. His hands trembled. This can't be real, he whispered. The man laughed. It is. And there's one more thing. Asterisk. What's that? Asterisk. The CEO wants your shop to handle maintenance for all our company vehicles. Mark stared at him in disbelief. That contract alone would change his entire business. Asterisk. The man shook his hand and left. Asterisk. Mark stood there holding the envelope, remembering the moment Ethan had looked up at him and asked if he was rich. Asterisk. He had laughed at the time. Asterisk. But now he realized something. Richness wasn't about money. It was about the kind of life you chose to live. Asterisk. And sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could travel farther than you ever imagined. Asterisk. That night Mark told Lily the whole story. Her eyes widened. Does that mean we're rich now? She asked excitedly. Mark laughed. Not exactly. Asterisk. Then what does it mean? He smiled gently. It means doing the right thing always finds its way back. Lily thought about that for a moment. Then she hugged him tightly. Asterisk. Mom would be proud of you, she said. Asterisk. Mark looked at the ceiling. Blinking away tears. Yeah, he whispered, I hope so.